If you haven't already, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel. Hopefully you like what you hear. But hey, I found a lot of my subscribers just subscribe so they can, talk a little bit of shit on the videos. And I got no problem with that, Let me know what you think in the comments, especially with this one, because this might be a little bit of a controversial video. So you've probably heard that term socialism thrown out a lot the past few years, and I want to explain why. But before I get to that, you ever heard that old phrase, history repeats itself? Truly, the only thing constant is change. And I'm going to get into a quick little history lesson here. We've all heard a lot about the American Revolution in social studies, but do you know what was going on in France around that time? They were also rebelling against a king to establish a government run by the people. But the reasons for doing so were a little bit different. But as with most things in life, it all comes down to money. The 13 colonies were angry about being taxed and controlled by the British government here in America. In France, income inequality had become such a huge problem that the system was no longer sustainable. There was massive unemployment going on in the late 1700s. At one point, a third of Paris was unemployed. Farmers couldn't keep up and the food prices skyrocketed, while wages stayed pretty flat. France was also enduring a very high national debt, and most of the taxes were collected from poor people, while the wealthy elite were able to avoid paying their fair share. Now, you don't have to be an economics major to look at that and think, some very similar things to America in 2020. And, the sad truth is we're not that far off, right? Here is a look at wealth distribution between back at that time period in France between 1760 and 90. And as you can see, it's actually a little bit worse nowadays, right? Compared to what it was back in the 1700s there. And that was 2016. You got to think about that. That was before Trump really took office, right? That was before the massive tax cut for the rich. And that was before the coronavirus pandemic really changed, the distribution of wealth in our country. And since then, things have only gotten worse, right? Since the beginning of the pandemic, billionaires in America, here in the United States, just the ones in the United States, have gained an additional $1 trillion in new wealth. $1 trillion. So while 26 million Americans went on unemployment, waited hours and hours in line to get food from food banks, and had to decide between paying rent or getting food, the billionaires here in the U.S. made $1 trillion. Now, you were waiting to find out whether you could pay your rent or with another stimulus check from the federal government, Elon Musk was moving to Texas. Now, not to hate on good old Elon there, but now the three richest people in the United States, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, and Elon Musk, now pay zero in state income taxes. And hold on, you might get your little stimulus check for $600. Now, Republicans have always accused anything Democrats want to do as socialism. But the reason you're hearing more about it today is that this is just like before the French Revolution. This system isn't sustainable anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong, capitalism is great and has been great for a long time. But over the last couple of years, it seems that's only working great for a few of us. You can still make a good living in America. But for a growing number of Americans, it's just not working anymore, right? And, I can't say if socialism is better or what comes next, but I can definitely clearly see that it's not working for a lot of people out there, right? And one thing that's also changed very recently, and I was kind of thinking about this after I finished this script, but for a lot of folks, they looked at college as the way to move up in society, right? You get your education, you're guaranteed a better job and a better way of life, right? But I don't know if you know any recent college grads, but it's way harder to find a job than it used to be. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I think capitalism is a great system. I think capitalism has a lot of benefits to it, but it seems like it's not working out that well these days. And as I said before, there's one constant, and that's change. And as they say, history does have a tendency to repeat itself. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for watching Citizen Pete. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, click that little subscribe button, maybe the like button, and hey, maybe just leave a comment. You know, I want to know what you're thinking. What do you think about all the politics, the news, and all the stuff that's going on in our country?